Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt. Today is Wednesday, April the 22nd, 2020. It's 4 p.m. New York time. And wherever you are in the world, thanks for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And I got a treat for you today. An old friend is back. Joel Elston, back for one day only. And I mean, this is something, Joel, that I've been literally dreaming about at times over the last 8 or 9 months, the day when you'd be able to come back. It's like you never left, by the way. We reference you often. We take your name in vain constantly. So, you know.
Well, that's awesome. I first of all, you and I sort of lightly stay in contact on Facebook. I miss doing the show. It was just scheduling conflicts, when we had to change it. But it
Sure.
is such a, I often will think about some of the shows we used to do together, and I don't know how many we did together, but it was such an amazing time. I always felt it was part of my own therapy in a sense, so I enjoyed it a lot.
Me too. Oh, absolutely. And I learned a lot. I know our listeners learned a lot. I haven't actually done a count, but I know it was well over 200 shows that we did. We did a lot of shows. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. And I feel very proud of what we did in those shows too, because we really laid a groundwork that the show has grown on largely toward the end of the time that you were able to do the show. And then since then, because just in the last year, we doubled in listenership. Over the last 2 years, we more than tripled in listenership. And that had a lot to do with what we did in the early years. So I got to thank you publicly. Thank you for the help during that time.
Well, I thank you. It was something. It was certainly nothing. There were times in the beginning. I think just me and you were listening. So
no kidding.
but it was like talking to an old friend, and we did that every week for a long time. So I would love to drop in the future when you need some fill-in time. Things have been, with all that this is going on, you'll be shocking probably to understand to think of what my view of all this is. But my personal business has grown to the point that I really have about as much as I can do right now. So,
I hear you.
Yeah, it's really, we've adapted really well here, and it's been, it's an ongoing thing. There's a big shift happening, and obviously I'm going to be viewing it from the way I view everything. So,
right.
There's a lot of good stuff going on right now, and there's a lot of people having some difficult times as well. But it's certainly opening up a lot of eyes for a lot of people right now.
That's been a theme that we've covered a lot here on the show. How, yes, it's been a troublesome time, but this is just opening things up for amazing things, some of which we've already been able to identify, things that
Sure.
we're just grateful for on a daily basis that we took for granted before, that are now really important in our lives because we're aware, oh, wow, we really haven't been paying attention to this stuff that's really important. In fact, Alex King and I did a whole show yesterday, just a long rampage of appreciation of all the things that have been happening out of this pandemic. So, that alone we know is good. We don't even know what's coming down the road, but I have this feeling it's going to be huge.
Well, you and I have talked before that I have felt, and I know I've mentioned it before, that it's always felt like a shift was coming, a perspective change was coming.
Right.
And the people that are into the law of attraction, stoicism, or these other similar minds of thought have always been, everybody in those arenas have said it's felt like something was going to happen, a shift.
Yeah.
Now, I did not have the coupon for pandemic. I didn't have that big, but within that, and as we always say, this is never about. My focus is on what's right. That's where my energy gets applied, and so it of all the people that may be struggling during this time, I certainly have empathy for that. But at the same time, I'm looking at my clients, and when a lot of the stuff we've talked about in the past, like back in the Depression, there's people, Think and Grow Rich, a book by Napoleon Hill, was written, back in the Depression about people almost identical times as right now.
Yeah,
and
true.
He focused on people that somehow thrived during that time, and he was looking for a commonality, and he couldn't find a commonality other than this one belief that, like we've now identified as the law of attraction. If we believe you're going to be successful, your reality is going to be successful. You have no choice but to be successful, but with the environment and adapting. Like if you're stuck on what it was done before, and I have to do it the way it was done before, then you're probably having a really difficult time right now. But if you're willing to look at what's new, what's coming, there is a new economy, in my opinion, coming. I don't know exactly how it unfolds, but it will be different than before. It will be better than before for a lot of people. And there are other people that will view it as like, I can't believe everything fell apart. It'll just simply be a perspective. It won't be, there's people that are going to come out of this way ahead. Mm-hmm. And there's people that are not. And a lot will have to do with their perspective of the situation as it unfolds.
I actually believe that a large segment of the population are going to come out better than they were, although they may not recognize it right away. But I think that that's something that's going to kind of play out, and people will look back and they'll say, "Oh, wow, yeah, I guess my life really did improve, even though I wasn't aware of it at the time." Just my take.
Well, I'm getting a lot of that with my clients already. Everything fell apart. I've lost my job, and then we get out of the that moment or two of grieving what is gone. Now we're focused on what's there, and I'm hearing, wow, I got this offer, I got this offer, this is happening. Mm-hmm. Then that chain of events, that action reads more events that go in your favor, and I don't know anyone that wants to be working right now that can't find a job. Now, it might not be a career job, but at least there's some action out there for people that are willing to go do the other stuff, which leads to other things. And there will be countless opportunities. We know that from just once there's a void created on one side, there's an opening or an opportunity on the other. That's the exciting piece of all this, and you almost have to temper it down just a little bit, because there's times where people say you're not being sensitive to those that are suffering, or you're not being sensitive where they're at. I certainly am, but I also look at, I know in my personal life it couldn't be any better. I'm in great health. My son Justin, 14 now.
Wow, 14. Oh my.
Yeah, I adopted Justin when he was 10, and he's on a new schedule right now. It's stay up all night. And then sleep till about 1 in the afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's just got over breakfast, I think. So, but he's doing great. So we're all doing really well here. So again, it's just where we're at right now. The process of how the law of attraction applies here is I'm getting so many questions, well, how does this work? Where am I at? Things are horrible. I go, well, they are, because you believe they're horrible. It's just, it's that simple. And because when you break it down to this moment that we're in, like today, I'm in Central Virginia right now, and it is like a perfect day. It is 65 degrees, bright sun. I was out, and my schedule, I'm doing so much of my work from home now, online, Zoom. And so I end up with a couple extra hours a day. And so I took my lunchtime walk down by the pond, and got a little sun, and came back. And I'm
rough.
Like, wow, this is a better life than, I'm not running around crazy, all that. So again, it's different, but it's also made me look at what I was doing before and adjust. And I find myself with more time, because as I told you before, my money isn't my issue as much as time is my issue. I'm running out of time. I have so much going on. I'm too busy. Well, this has given me a lot of time that I wanted more time. I didn't know I would bring it about this way, but have a lot more time now.
Isn't that funny? Yeah. By the way, I just realized I should mention, Cindie Chavez will be back next week. She's taking this week off because it's her birthday. So happy birthday, Cindie. And she wanted to have a little personal time, which was great. But it was also a wonderful opportunity to bring Joel back. I mean, Joel, this is kind of like, Cindie is like one of my founding hosts right now. So she's like one of the rocks that I built this show on. But this is kind of like having Mike Trout in the batting order. You have to put him on the bench to give him a day off, and you bring Babe Ruth in, to bat for him. That's what it's like to have him come in.
Wow, that's pretty big. Well, and you know how my affinity for baseball, so that makes it even funnier.
Absolutely. Of course, I was going to pick a football analogy. Are you kidding?
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, you know how baseball not being in my life has affected me?
Probably not at all.
Not at all. It has the same effect. So,
well, I'll tell you what. I will do a little balancing here, because obviously football is your sport. So I'm just going to ask you a quick non-LOA question. Who do you think is going to be the surprise pick of the NFL draft tomorrow?
Oh, wow. You got the obvious people. I'm forgetting the defensive back's name from LSU, that he's a really underrated guy. I think he's going to go high. I'm dropping his name right now, but I think he's projected second, third round. He's going to sneak into the beginning of the second round.
Okay.
And I have a little inside information there too, so I'm cheating a little bit.
All right. Well, a whole bunch of people just headed off to their bookies. Hopefully they'll be back shortly.
But and then the draft is taking place tomorrow still. It's just going to be done electronically, correct?
Right. Yeah, everything's going to be virtual. Yeah. So it'll be a little bit different. Yeah. You won't have the draft picks going up and getting congratulated by the commissioner on stage, but I'm sure they'll find some way to do it. But anyway, sure. Getting back to what we were talking about with what's been going on, everybody has been experiencing a shift in their lives, and it touches everybody in big, big ways. I love the fact that you were really emphasizing the importance of how are we looking at it. I mean, first of all, you mentioned the first book that was ever reviewed here on the show, which was Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, that you and I did together. We did all the chapters together. So you got me flashing back to that. That book really was a groundbreaking book because, like you mentioned, it came out during another very difficult economic time, the beginning of the Great Depression, and it impacted a tremendous number of lives of the people who read it and discovered it, and the smaller number that applied it and turned it into success. We could probably point to, I don't know, hundreds, thousands of books that are of a similar vein that have been out in recent years or are coming out this year. That could have the same kind of effect. So it's not like it was 80 years ago where you had to know about it. Now it's just kind of all over the place. Now the question is, are you going to do anything about it? Are you going to apply anything?
Exactly. And you here's a quick example. As you know, Walt, hopefully some of our audience members remember, I'm an avid weightlifter. I've lifted weights for 42 years now, and I never miss. Yeah, I don't miss. I belong to 4 separate gyms. I work out every single day of my life. It is something I love doing. I'm passionate about, right. And it's an antidepressant and anti-anxiety medication for me. So I can't say how important working out is. Well, as this happened, all my gyms shut down. I don't have access to my gyms. So,
which is a shock when you're used to it. When that's a big part of your life, that's a big chunk missing.
Yeah. I almost bought a gym just to work out during the time that it was shut down.
Did you really?
Yeah, I really did. I was thinking about buying it and selling it back to the owner when they opened back up, but but I said, before I do that, let me try something else. So what I did was I said, because I have a tendency, even though I do what I do and I'm always looking for that new thing, but the way I've worked out's basically been the same way for 40 years. I have some variations, and I study new ways, but it's the same basic concepts. I lift really heavy weights, less reps, have very long workouts, and it's what I love to do. So in doing some research, I discovered one of my clients is an NFL trainer, and he told me about I'm sure you've heard of resistance bands. There's a heavy duty resistance band setup that he told me about. It's very expensive, and I didn't want to spend the money on it. But then when the gyms were shut down, I said, well, it's cheaper than buying a gym. So I went ahead and bought that. And so what I did was I actually watched the videos. I listened to the concepts. And one of the things, a resistance band, different than weights, it gives you varying resistance. The further it gets away from you, the more resistance it is. So it allows for more partial reps. So they talk about a lot more reps versus little reps. And I'm like, oh, I've never done that. But I said, no, I'm going to just try it. And you go to failure, just pure failure when you do it. And I did it the first time, and I was like, oh my gosh, my arms are shaking. Well, I never get that feeling. Well, I wake up the next day and I'm sore, and I never am sore. So I'm like, I might be onto something here. So I have fallen in love with this new way of working out. Now, I'm not saying I won't go back to gyms when they open back up, but I really am finding it opened my eyes to something that I wouldn't have been exposed to. I never would have done this unless I had to do it. So what that did for me in my form of exercise, and plus I can do it at the house. It frees me up. It saves time. The gym, I'm at the gym about an hour and 15 minutes normally, and then it takes me 30 minutes to get out of there talking to people and all. So I'm saving like an hour and a half just in that time during the day. And I'm finding my workouts are more focused. They're at home. Justin doesn't come down and disturb me. We've worked on that. He uses it for a workout later in the day.
Oh.
So what this did, it opened up something that's very important to me. It exposed me to something new. So I keep using those examples because I try to always look at new stuff and new ways of doing things. But I never ever thought it would affect me, and I would view it as a positive. Now I see my friends when I'm out and about a little bit, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you missed the gym." And I go, "I do. I miss you guys. But I really don't miss that because I found something new. I love it. I'm having great results from that." Now I don't know. I don't have a scale at the house, so I might weigh 200 pounds or I might weigh 250 pounds. I don't know. So I don't know which way that has gone, but I
you
feel
and Louise
really
have
good.
a very similar philosophy there.
Yeah. It could be either way. But again, in every aspect of our lives, it's like we discovered food delivery. Justin actually discovered food delivery the first week it happened. I didn't know he discovered it until I got the $360 bill for that week. But so we've had to hone our ability to order food. But again, new stuff has been added to my equation that I didn't know was there. And also there's expenditures that have gone way down as well. So it is a new normal. It is a new normal. It is, I find myself, my job is to thrive in whatever environment is going to exist. That's what I work with my clients on.
Right.
If it's if it's, nuclear holocaust on the other side of that, how are we going to thrive? That's just where we're at.
By the way,
if you're alive,
Joel is not predicting that. I just want to make sure everybody understands.
I'm not predicting that. But if it were to happen, we're going to thrive on the
Right.
other side of that. I mean, it's just within it because as the discovery that I made and we first started doing it, we used to joke, I'm a kindergartner at the law of attraction. I used to say that years ago. And, I said, we're just learning this stuff. I'm probably a little further along than a kindergartner now.
Yeah.
But as I've realized, the environment is strictly our view of it. I'm looking in my neighborhood. I told you today, I walked down to the pond. In the woods, there's a little wooded area. All the kids are out there playing. They're building forts. They're on their bikes. The parents have, lawn chairs in the yard, waving as you go by. I'm like, this is a different life. And everybody seems to have found a new normal. The kids seem happier. They're out having fun. They're not they're not inside all day at school, then playing video games all night. We have already adapted to some degree. And if you take your perspective and you turn it around, it's a great opportunity because your perspective dictates your reality, as I've said every show we probably have ever done together. And so by looking at just the advantages this new life has given us is amazing. And that's the piece that excites me because so many people seem to be getting that. I have a young man. He was manager of a pizza shop and rudderless. And I started seeing him about 2 weeks before the pandemic. And he's smoking a lot of pot and he's just miserable. And he's like, I want something more. He's 27 years old, very bright kid, very musically inclined. So I said, well, let's start on the music. And I said, weren't you? And he also loves to take photographs and he does all kinds. He's very artistic, more maybe than musical. But
Right.
Let's call it artistic. And so I've talked him into the concept of maybe starting to take some more photography or writing some music, writing a book, any of the stuff. And so he was doing a little bit of it. Then all of a sudden he lost his job. And he was like, and I said, oh my gosh, your answered prayer. You hated that job. And he's like, well, yeah, I guess. And then all of a sudden he got his stimulus check. Then he got unemployment. He got this extra $600 unemployment. Right. I don't know exactly how that's working. Well, he's now making more money than he was doing at the pizza shop.
I'm sure.
He said, they're paying me. He said, I'm not going to waste my money on pot. This kid is absolutely thriving right now. He's developing a lot of content. He's now making connections with other people locally in Richmond. Richmond has a lot of film industry, and it's a very unique little town. And now while nobody's shooting right now, that's going to open up soon when all this is over. So he's now making these contacts. He's super excited. He's driving around the streets of Richmond in the middle of the day when there's nobody out there doing video, because one day there's going to be somebody needing a video of Richmond when there's nobody on the streets.
Good for him.
And so he's now leveraged it, and his perspective is just that and I'm telling people this, in my lifetime, I have never been given this opportunity to complete so much for people who want to reset their life. This is the ultimate opportunity for that. It is there. There's people giving money to you to stay home. There's people, there's for a lot of people, they will never experience in their lifetime where the entire world takes a break, sort of allows you to reset. There's a slower pace, and it's okay to sit home. And it's a brand new thing that has never happened in my lifetime.
By the way, a couple comments from our live stream audience. Jeffrey, who's one of our regulars, said he also misses his gym time. So maybe he's going to take a cue from you and try out the resistance bands. And then Josephine wanted to congratulate your son, saying so happy for him on his, or not your son, your client, saying so happy for him on his film career. So you can pass that along, that the audience here is supporting him on that.
Yeah, he's an outstanding young man. And so when you see people leveraging these times, that's all the law of attraction is. It's simply leveraging where we're at. No matter what is going on, there's going to be a perspective, and with the sensitivity required, no means. It's like I have one of my you'll love this. One of my clients texted me that she got this incredible job in New York City a month. Well, actually, she left for New York City. Tell me the timing of this. In her new apartment, she left on March 13th.
Oh my!
And the city shut down basically on that following Monday, and they kept her on, not knowing what to do. Well, they just let her go. And this was her dream job. I mean, she had worked really hard for it, and so she's back in Richmond. And she said, "We're going to meet. We're going to get together." She said, "I know you're going to tell me everything's going to be okay, but I got to whine for a couple of days." And I said, "Okay." So I said, "Let's schedule a couple of days of whining, and then let's get busy." And she said, "Okay." So we're going to meet sometime next week. But it isn't that you can't. It's hard to accept a drastic change like that. But also knowing, she instinctively knows. She said, "I know this will make sense one day. We'll make this to our advantage in the future. But right now, it still hurts. I lost my job." I said, "I'm not minimalizing that. Of course it does. But that once we get on the fear of that, where are we going with it now?" And so everybody out there during these times are able, if they choose to choose that resilience piece, the growth piece, the new shift piece that seems to be really effective for a lot of people, at least people in my orbit.
It's been interesting too, seeing people out and about in my area here in Connecticut. Connecticut is one of the hotter spots because we're right next to New York, which is the hot spot for the virus. And as a result, our lockdown here is a little bit more severe, perhaps, than what others are experiencing. You can't even go to a store anymore without a mask. They won't even let you in. That's an example.
Right.
And it's been interesting to me both interesting and also a bit of a challenge at times, because I've been dealing with my own feelings about what's been going on, to go into a store and watch the faces of other people over time, because this thing has kind of evolved, right? Early on, it was, clear the shelves of all the TP and all the other stuff. And then it was some people wearing masks and more people wearing masks. And all through that time, particularly in the first week or two, there was a massive, I called it a blanket of fear that just, you couldn't avoid it. You didn't have to be empathic to feel it. It was just so tangible. It was so thick you could cut it with a knife. It's still there, but it's less. And what's been really fascinating has been seeing little bits of sunshine from people. Every once in a while, you'll still see people who you can just tell their eyes are filled with terror. You can just see it. It's so obvious. And I try to send it. Well, I can't smile them anymore. They can't see the smile, but I try to crinkle my eyes a little bit.
You do that eye smile.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. But there are also people who are kind of breaking through, like that little shoot of green popping up in the spring from the ground, trying to reach its way to the sunlight. I see it out on the walking path because there's fewer people wearing masks on the walking path. Lots of smiles, a lot more than I would normally get out there and that I would normally see out there. Still practicing all the, the precautions and so forth, the social distancing and all that stuff. But you can just see the spirit coming through. You're seeing it. I'm seeing it more now on Facebook. It used to be just the LOA circles where the positive stuff was going. Now I'm starting to see more and more people in the outer circles, as I call them, displaying more and more ways of, sharing little videos that are fun, or here's an activity that our family did, or, all this stuff about feeling better. And most of them don't even understand LOA. Most of them don't understand the importance of good feeling. They're just doing it naturally.
Yeah. And that when you go, like you're saying, the tangible feeling, in the beginning, especially when you go into the store, it was almost like Death Race 2000. Who could get to the toilet paper section the fastest, or, and people, yeah. And then people, yeah, thank you. There's people like blocking with their carts so you couldn't get to the meat section.
Right.
It was really sad because, I was looking, and to be fair, talk about the law of attraction or just really pure luck. I buy toilet paper and paper towels once every 6 months. And I bought a week before this fell apart. So I'm golden. And, yeah. So the timing of that was perfect. Yeah, I was sitting pretty. I am toilet paper rich, buddy.
You go into business.
Yeah, you go into, but I know, like in our local grocery stores, Kroger's local here, and they're working really hard. And so, I mean, like the cashiers and the bag boys and everybody's working really hard. So that first week I was there, and everybody they were cleaning, and everybody was trying their best, and some of the customers were real snooty. And so there's a 16-year-old, I'm guessing 16, 18, somewhere around there, kid. He was bagging, and this lady was being very rude because he put the frozen stuff in with something wrong. I don't know what that even means. And so, watching that. So when we were leaving, when I left, he bagged my groceries up, and I handed him a $20 bill. I said, "Thank you." And he said, "Well, what's that?" And I go, "Well, you did a really good job, thanks." And so the cashier knew I was doing. He said, "I don't know if I could take this." I go, "Oh yeah, you can." I said, "Nobody's arguing. It's a tip. You can take it." And he, every time I walk into Kroger, he runs over, "Hey Joel, how you doing? How you doing?" And well, more than anything, to change that environment, and the people behind me got to see that. Not because I was doing it for show, by the way. Right. I don't mean it that way. I'm not even telling a story for that. It's $20. I don't care. But it's more about changing the perspective or the narrative. I mean, this lady's yelling at this young man. He's worried. He didn't know. I mean, it was very new, and he's working really hard. He's sweating, and all of a sudden she's worried about one of the refrigerated things got in the wrong bag. It's like, oh Lord. And so anytime that I can get out there and just I thank everybody whenever possible, even and again, this is not judging where everyone else. I'm not really worried about this thing. I'm washing my hands really well. I'm doing all the stuff I should be doing, but I'm not. I'm not, and I don't go in the stores. I don't need to go in the stores, but to see the tangible fear and almost the let me get mine before you get yours kind of mentality that was going on. I'm agreeing. I'm seeing a lighting up of that. I'm seeing a lot more. One of my local neighbors, I thought this was so cool. She put up a pantry outside she bought a bunch of extra stuff. And she just she said, if you know anyone or you want to contribute, on my front porch, there's rice, there's beans, there's toilet paper, there's hygiene items. Come get it. Tell whoever. And so, and this is typical of my awesome neighborhood. So I was going to go drop some stuff off. Well, there's so much stuff on the porch now of people dropping off stuff to add to that. So they're actually taking it out in some of the areas that might be more in need than our area. Wow. So you're seeing that. You're starting to see some individual people take individual action to help other people. And that's where the law of attraction can really help. If you see that go, there's hope here. We're not done. We're just changing. This is new.
No doubt about it. Yeah. I've got a story to tell you too that I've told our listeners, but I want to tell you because it fits in perfectly with what you said. And then I have a question for you from the live stream, so we'll do that one second. But similar situation, it's a grocery store, and it was somebody posting this on Facebook. She was not having a good day. It was right at the peak of all the fear and so forth. And she realized and recognized she needed to turn her attitude around. So she decided she was going to do one particular affirmation over and over again to herself as she drove to the store to do her shopping. The affirmation was, I can have anything I want. I can have anything I want. I can have anything I want. So she kept repeating it to herself. Felt a little bit better by the time she got to the store. Went inside, did her shopping, went up to the checkout, put everything onto the belt and so forth. And as the cashier is checking her out the bagger, she sees the bagger and says, oh, by the way, would you put the spaghetti jars double bagged for me? He says, sure, whatever you want.
Awesome. Invited it. I love it. She brought that about.
She absolutely did. So anyway, Josephine was asking a question. I'm not sure if you can even answer it, but I'll bring it up anyway. I'm sure you'll have a perspective. You always do. She says, from your gut instinct, do you see us going to the beach and movies in the summer? Because that's what I really miss.
Well, I have two answers to that. First of all, I plan on going to the beach and the movies this summer. I'm planning on it. I hope that comes true. Whether I can speak to the beach, I'm going to the beach this summer. The movies may be another thing. I might be watching those movies at home, but I really hope we do. As long as everybody's safe and it's the best thing for our community, I hope that's what happens. But and also from a law of attraction perspective, getting a little bit out there, you can go to the beach mentally any day. Look at the background. I'm at the beach right now mentally.
Absolutely.
That background is not Richmond, Virginia, I promise. But it is in a sense, you know, when you're able to really, and we've talked about this a long time ago, but if you mentally can go anywhere, and I can feel like I'm at the beach. I can watch a great movie on. I'm not falling into the next Netflix syndrome like a lot of people, but we started doing movie night one night a week. We're actually watching a movie together, Justin and I.
Nice.
And so, which I never watch movies. And so this is pretty cool. And so it's a new thing. So I hope, Josephine, I really hope we're able to get to the movies this summer. You know, I'm going to leave that to the bigger brains than me to figure out that's going to be the way that goes. But if it were up to me and it were safe for everybody, we would all be at the beach in the movies.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, Louise and I have picked up an activity. We picked it up. Actually, we went to Florida to visit my brother in January. And my brother works at NASA. He actually works across from the vehicle assembly building.
I remember that.
Yeah. But anyway, we did the tour and he was telling us stuff and so forth. It was really great. And Louise got really interested because, you know, we're right there. We're right at the launch pads, right near launch pad 39A where they send most of the stuff up. And so since then, she's been really interested in watching the SpaceX rockets take off. And we've been watching old film from the last couple of years of it. There was just one today. My brother sent me a text message saying, "Oh, there's another launch going off in 5 minutes." That was about 40 minutes ago. So we tuned in and we were watching it together. And it's almost as good as watching a movie. It's actually better because you don't have all the crazy drama that you get in a movie. It's just like, oh wow, there goes one rocket again. How cool is that?
There goes rocket. Yeah. Well, but that you're using this concept of you develop something new. It's a new hobby. It's a new thing. You and Louise are doing it together. There's a lot of positive energy to that.
There is.
You know,
by the way, it's also
we
really
can do
cool.
any of that.
It's really cool because it's like reading an old science fiction novel because I don't know if you're aware of it, but SpaceX can now take the first and second stages and land them back on the ground.
Yes.
Have you seen that?
Isn't that crazy?
I mean, it's so cool. It's like right out of, you know, Isaac Asimov or something.
I've always been fascinated with that. Growing up in Florida, we could, even though I was on the west coast of Florida, when the shuttle launched, you could see it on a clear day.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, and when the space shuttle blew up years ago, I was actually watching it outside and saw it blow up. Now I didn't know what had happened.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great law of attraction story. Sorry. But but I didn't know what happened. But I mean, we used to always, you know, really enjoy watching that take off. If there was a nighttime launch, that was incredible to see at night. And the SpaceX stuff. I mean, I'm a big Elon Musk fan, so the fact he's all his stuff is just so incredible. I mean, what a forward-thinking mind he has.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I especially we both love the fact that his payload for the first Falcon 9 Falcon Heavy was the Tesla. So there's a Tesla now in
Isn't
orbit
it
around the
awesome?
sun.
It's just floating out there. I like that. So that's
And
good
it has
stuff.
the
But
best
it
message
really,
of all on the dashboard. Don't panic. I love that one.
yeah. Everything's cool. But that when there's a void created anywhere, we fill it. And like I'll often have the question. Somebody will say, I was giving a talk the other day on Zoom, and this lady piped in. She said, will we get back to normal? And I go, I don't think we will. I don't know what normal is, but we're not. I think we'll get to a new normal. I don't think we're going back to the way we were before. I think there'll be changes in some areas. I know, the concept. Schooling may be different in the future. Movie theaters, I don't know what that looks like going forward. I mean, it at least, and I can only speak locally. The AMC and Regal Cinemas have basically went bankrupt since this happened. They're not. I don't know if they would be able to even open up.
Wow.
If they lifted that. And not. I hope they are for the jobs and stuff. But whether they were or not, there are going to be things that change, and there's going to be industries that thrive, and there's going to be industries that might not be as relevant before. The concept of seeing things from a different perspective is going to require us to, we'll adapt to this new normal, and everything is going to be okay.
Sure.
It's just going to be a new normal, and so it's I like that. You'll hear of sort of a quantum shift, or change, a changing paradigm. All these things, all these terms have been used where, I don't know where it lands, but the fact that I'm going to land with it, and that's but simply because my perspective will I'll move when it moves, and that is the ability to be adaptable and have the positive outlook of where we're going. Right now, today, my life absolutely right now at this moment could not be any better than it is right now at this moment. And there's nothing going on that I have anxiety about. We have a lot of laughter. We got a trampoline. I don't know if you saw that on Facebook.
I did
Walt,
see
I got
that.
a trampoline.
Yes.
Yep. And the last time I jumped on a trampoline, I was 15 years old.
Wow.
And I'm 58 now. And I learned that trampoline performance does not improve with age.
This is true. Unless you're doing it every day, but
yeah. No, it has drastically gotten worse. So, I thought I was going to go out there and do a flip, and I just had a hard time staying straight up jumping. So, I'm working on the new trampoline skills. But again, I never would have bought a trampoline if we didn't have this. I'm rethinking my house as well. When this is over, I've always had such a busy life. I have a beautiful home in a great neighborhood, but it's a very small yard. The house is not really, it's meant to be efficient for just in and out,
right.
Well, I'm thinking about buying a bigger house and put in a full gym, and maybe just redo it, making home more of a home base than it has been for us, because it's been more of a drop-in place than a home base. So we're adjusting how we're using our home too. So I may add on another part of my house here. I don't know which one it's going to be, but I never thought about that until this happened, because I've never been home so much.
You were talking a moment ago about the new normal, whatever the new normal is going to be, and it'll be different, whatever it is. It kind of made me remember, I don't know if you ever listened to the radio broadcast of Garrison Keillor when he would talk about the news from Lake Wobegon. He always finished that segment every time the same way. It was that's the news from Lake Wobegon. Excuse me. That's the news from Lake Wobegon, where all the women are strong, the men are good looking, and all the children are above average. And that's what I was thinking of, the children above average, when you talked about the new normal.
Yeah. And I love that, by the way. And, and a lot of the things since we talked, one of the great discoveries that I've been, the connection between stoicism and law of attraction. I don't know if you've ever been looking at any of the stoic stuff.
Not really. No, not stoicism.
Yeah, a lot of it is, a lot of it tends to be, you're responsible. You're responsible for your thoughts. You're responsible for your happiness. sorry that happened. Let's, are we going to talk about it? Are we going to do something about it differently?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people view it as pretty harsh thinking, but it really is law of attraction based. And,
Okay.
I see so much of the law of attraction, in the, how a lot of it, which came first, I don't know, but the Stoic thought is very much, you are solely responsible for what you think and what you pay attention to. What you see is you are the responsible. I can look at all the injustice in the world, and there's a lot if you choose to look for that.
Sure.
Or I can look at all the positive in the world, and your world will then mimic what that is. It'll be that. It'll be that. And so, all this constant study, all this over the years, finding sort of a way to tap into how to use the law of attraction to my advantage and help my clients with that. It has been so eye-opening. And way back when we first started applying this, and how we came in contact in the beginning is, I was running a treatment center for addiction, and I somehow on our website, I think you found I was using the law of attraction to help treat addiction that nobody else was doing at the time.
Right.
And that's how you found that, and that's how we started interviewing, and then eventually I became a host. And so since then, that whole concept has evolved so much. But
how about
that was the introduction stuff in the beginning,
Did you know you were breaking ground at that point? Because look how many people have come in to kind of fill the gap once you broke that ground.
Oh yeah, it was way ahead of its time. And it was sort of looked at weird in a way at the time because it wasn't the traditional stuff. It was unheard of to suggest that 12 steps might not be the best for every way to do stuff. That they may be other concepts that sort of work. And I've actually set up multiple treatment centers over the years using using the different way of thinking. A lot of and still to this day, I have an updated count because I knew I'd be talking to you today. I buy used copies of The Secret and I give it out. I've always given out copies of The Secret, the book, The Secret. So I counted back. I didn't realize I'd given out with this many. So I did buy them used, but I have given away 4,200 copies over the last 10 years.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, you've been busy because if I remember correctly, the last number was around 3,000. So you've been really busy.
Yeah. So that's quite a bit. And so I give them out every client I get, or somebody even messages me on Facebook. Well, I'll mail it to them. It is while I'm not remotely, I don't think it's a comprehensive look at the law of attraction. I think it's a wonderful introduction to the law of attraction. I think it does a great job of it's just that gateway to the law of attraction. And
you've heard about the new movie, right?
Yes. Have you seen it?
No, it's not out yet. I don't think. It was supposed to come out on the 17th, but they postponed the release because of the pandemic. So it's a date to be
I didn't know if
determined.
they had it online yet. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was going to take several clients to see it when it opened. But I will see it as soon as I can see it. And I don't know what it'll be. I mean, I hope it's good, but Rhonda, I guess Rhonda's doing it, or she's wrote it. She's
what do you call it? A consultant. She's consulting heavily on it.
Okay.
And they have some top line talent who are playing the roles. It's a fictional piece. It's a fictional story. You can actually see a trailer of it on YouTube. Just you'll look for The Secret, Dare to Dream, I think it is. But it's like a 2 or 3 minute trailer, and it kind of gives you a flavor of it. And it looks like it could be pretty good. I mean, it's kind of the same level as The Secret. Like you said, it's not comprehensive, and the film doesn't seem to be comprehensive either. But by the same token, when you're telling a fictional story, you really don't want it to be comprehensive. You want it to be entertaining. So,
exactly. And what helps with so many people is like The Secret. It's an easy read, and it introduces you to the concept. And a lot of people will watch The Secret, go, "Well, that's a nice thing." And there's other people that, like you and I, who will then go deep down the rabbit hole. I mean, we will then, I'm very, give The Secret a lot of credit for when I first read it, it opened my eyes, and that started my, discovery of Abraham Hicks and all the other stuffs and all the other gurus and the different, versions and, Mike Dooley. I've actually talked to Mike a couple of times.
Have you really?
Yeah.
That's one of my goals.
Yeah, he's a really good guy. Uh, and, I have a lot of respect for a lot of his work, and he sees it a little differently than some of the other people see it. But at the end of the day, it's the same message. It's the
Yes.
same concept. And there's, it's, you want to follow it and figure out, I take a little bit from this, a little bit from that. And, it's what works for me. And I don't think that there's any one thing. I've never read a comprehensive view that I thought nailed it on all levels. I think that I sort of had to develop the way I want to develop, and it might be different for you. I mean, we've always sort of been in sync with a lot of the beliefs, but you could, but the law of attraction will work. It's all based, as we said, as you say every day on the show. It's simply what you're feeling is what you're going to be getting back. Period.
Right.
And the secret, the book was trying to tell you, you're in charge of what you're feeling. That's the answer right there. And that's what drives it.
I mean, you mentioned Abraham Hicks, and I've certainly leaned heavily that direction. Particularly, you'll remember Louis D'Souza. He's still a co-host with me on Monday. He's very much Abraham Hicks oriented, and we both agree. I love how Abraham Hicks really makes it so simple, along the lines of what you just said, that it's about the emotion, but more precisely, it's about what emotion do you want to get to relative to where you are right now. And it's not like you have to jump way up the scale. You can just jump up, one level on the scale, and it's just climbing the ladder one step at a time.
The incremental change, it makes a big difference. And I'm writing. I have multiple books underway right now, but my next release, hopefully in August. You know how my writing style is. Yeah, but we're getting closer. It's called The Law of Action, and it's taking the action in the law of attraction. To me, that is a very big factor in it. And so I'm using a lot of Abraham Hicks stuff in that. I'm quoting a lot of that, a lot of Mike Newley stuff. But it is a very, I try to stay away from the Seth stuff because that scares everybody.
That's
that's
advanced. Yeah. That's very advanced.
That's it. I don't even know sometimes. But I have listened to all her stuff, and it's interesting. It stays on the same theme. It gets. Some of it goes a little left field to me.
Yeah,
but again,
very deep in the rabbit hole. Let's put it that way. It's so deep in the rabbit hole, you can't see the daylight. It's that deep.
Yeah. Sometimes you get there, and it's like, okay, if you could leave that chapter out, I'd really like this book. But the Seth speaks and all that is again, and the interesting part, though, even more exciting to me, because the content sometimes is a little. They're the most harsh of all the content, if there was a word to describe that. But the Abraham Hicks, Seth tapes, or going back to Think and Grow Rich, or As a Man Thinketh way back in the day, the concepts are all the same. I mean, the basis of how this works is all the same, and which I really love. You can add onto it or go as deep in the rabbit hole as you want. But just like Abraham Hicks said, improving your mood, the state of gratitude, or moving towards a state of gratitude, here you are right now, just moving a little bit gets you further from that. And then you get closer to where you were. It's not as hard as we make it out to be sometimes. And I know you and I used to do, the one call or one comment that was made that stands out one of the most to me was, there's a gentleman, we were in the middle of a show, and he sent in a question, really nice guy. And his question was, I've been practicing the law of attraction in my life, and the main reason I wanted to do it was to get a lot of money, but that's not working. But all the other areas of my life has really improved greatly. What am I doing wrong? You remember that? I mean,
I do.
and we had multiple questions similar to that over the years. It was.
I raised a few of them, actually.
Yeah, exactly. But I just thought it was so telltale, because he was true. And then as soon as we pointed out and we were kind to him, we didn't say but he realized, because he was focusing so hard and spending so much energy, he was having the reverse effect. He was creating a lack by focusing so hard. And the other areas of life where he was just sort of, that's great, I'm doing fine there, that all improved greatly. Mm-hmm. And it's that that ability too. So that's the nuance of how we sort of have to do all this stuff, is figure out how it works for you, what your personality type allows. And we have I've seen you go. I mean, you've made amazing changes over the years too. That's so Yeah. I mean, what a difference it had in your life. What
It's
I've
been
seen personally
incredible.
happen in your life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it continues to be incredible, and I can barely even imagine where it's going. Although I try, I try very hard to imagine where it's going.
I've always known, and I keep expecting to hear this one day. Especially now, again, with these new times, this message, a need for content, media. Yeah, I just the right person is going to hear this at the right time, and it's going to go wide open.
I think it's true. I mean, back when you were telling me that, you'll remember that I would say, well, that sounds nice. And I always had the note of skepticism and the feeling like, well, I'm not really sure if that's going to happen. Everybody else seemed to believe it, but I didn't believe it. I now believe
Right,
it. I now
right,
believe it in a much
yeah,
bigger way than I ever did. Yeah. And that belief
yeah,
makes a big difference. It's going to, I don't know exactly how it's going to play out. What I do know, and this kind of speaks to the book that you've been working on. I know you've been working on the law of action for quite some time, so I'm glad to hear that you're nearing completion on that one. That is a big piece of what you and I used to talk about a lot of the time on the
yes,
shows.
yes,
And the idea that, yes, you have to do the thought, you have to do the feeling, but sometimes if you're just stuck, sometimes the law of action actually has to come first. Usually it comes second. I mean, that's the normal order of things. You think about something, then you take an action. But sometimes you have to reverse it. And that was always one of the more interesting concepts that you put forward when you were doing the show with me. And I imagine it's what you're putting into the book too.
yeah, and actually. One of the analogies that I picked up on, because it matches what I believe exactly, and this is actually how I got to talk to Mike Dooley. In his book, Playing the Matrix, he gives an example of if you get in your car and you want to go anywhere and you're going to turn on your GPS, it requires you to move. Even if you move in the wrong direction, the GPS will correct and get you where you want to be.
Right.
The wrong direction doesn't matter, but the movement does. And I have that, to me, that it described it best. The law of law of attraction will work if you allow it to work. Sometimes if you're stuck that it can't work where I'm at right now, it's not going to work. But if you just make a movement, and again, it doesn't have to be a relevant movement. I have one guy that he's like, just can't get a job. I can't get a job. And he had the same routine. And I said, well, here's what we're going to do. And it made no sense to him. He said, well, I can't get going. I can't get to the gym. And I'm like, I said, here, you're going to get up. You're going to have coffee. You're going to go straight to the gym. And then you're going to figure out your day. And text me when you get to the gym. He's like, that makes no sense. Well, he did when he was done with his workout. And I said, okay, go on Indeed. Let's apply for jobs. Let's look for a job. Well, we started a brand new habit, and he can't get a job from home, but in 2 days of this new routine, he got a job because he changed he took an action that got him away from the place of inaction. When you get stuck in inaction, it allows that. So the law of action it is to me, it's a catalyst to the law of attraction. I know a lot of beliefs are, well, you can just sit at home and wish it well enough and it'll happen. That has never worked for me. Now that might be because I don't believe it won't work for me. But as long as I keep taking action, I'm always amazed at how the law of attraction will rush to meet to me as long as I'm moving to anywhere. It could be even moving away from where I need to be, but it will still come to me and give me what I'm really wanting as long as I'm doing action that supports it.
And I'm sure there are a number of different reasons why it's so effective that you're going to be outlining in your book. But I recall from our conversations, the one thing that really stuck out for me is the fact that when you're stuck and then you take action, it breaks the mental side of the stuck. It just breaks that pattern. Cindie Chavez has another way of doing the same thing. She says, if you're feeling like your life isn't going anywhere and you're in a rut, rearrange the furniture in the room. Just to give yourself a different perspective.
Yes, we one of the things I do when someone, if this is possible, not everybody's in a situation to do it. If somebody were in treatment for addiction, for example, they were gone for 30 days, and I'm working with a family, I have the family totally rearrange their living space.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Totally
so
rearrange.
You do the same thing.
Yeah. I have them, if the trash can's under the left side of the sink, we move it to the right side of the sink. I mean, I've gone as far, if the family's able to do it, move them to a new apartment. So let's do something brand new, because you're forced to develop a new set of habits or a new way of living when you have those things. So when you break the habit of being stuck and you're forced to do that, then you are allowed for new thoughts. So I love Cindie's plan. Sometimes the best action, like one of my things today with a client, he's sort of stuck, and he said, I don't know what to do. And I said, wash your dishes. He goes, well, that won't help anything. I go, it will. Just go wash your dishes, and then text me when you're done. And he washes dishes. What next? I said, well, what the rest of the house need cleaning? He's cleaning his house. Now he's filling out online resume. Now, before, he'd be sitting around all day watching what I call deep Netflix. When you watch everything on Netflix, now you're going really deep. He was in the deep section of Netflix,
Right.
That Spanish, the subtitle, English subtitles,
right.
when you get really deep,
The ones where the voices and lips are not in sync. I get it.
Yeah, exactly. Those really bad acting ones,
It makes a difference, though. When you shift the routine, it is amazing how that actually produces results that you don't expect, even though it like you said, it does make sense. I mean, especially when you're in that stuck place, there's no way in your mind that actually is something you would connect to saying, well, yeah, that's going to work. No, that's the last thing that comes to your mind is that that's going to work. It seems like a total waste of time, and yet it's not.
Yeah,
it's actually the most valuable use of time you can use.
Yeah, and you'll see that. I see that a lot with a lot of people when they just take some kind of movement from being to unstick yourself. It then just everything starts flowing. It's like the dam breaks open, and it could be the most minute thing. It could be washing dishes, making your bed, picking up your dry cleaning. I've seen all of that stuff just get somebody unstuck instead of that helplessness. I don't know what to do. And one of my other favorite things to do. I don't know who I'm taking this from. This is not my original stuff. But if you don't know what to do, find somebody who does and help them do it.
Yeah, sure.
That's
that works.
I've had people. I had a young man do that with he had a friend start a painting job. He didn't know what to do. A friend couldn't paint. He said, well, let me help you paint in the beginning. Well, that opened up a door where he met somebody who led him to a whole entire career that he never would have met that person if he weren't helping his friend that day. Yeah. And I hear that stuff all the time. So really cool. Getting out there allows the law of action allows the law of attraction much easier access to what you're seeking.
Yeah, it does. It's really true. You're talking about okay, there it goes. I had it. There was a good thought there. It really was excellent. And I don't know where it went. I had something that was directly related to what you were talking about. It was similar to the situation of the guy who just changes his pattern. Oh, I know it was the dishwashing. That's right. Right. When you mentioned washing dishes, it resonated with me because dishwashing for me, this is going to sound really strange perhaps, dishwashing for me has become a form of meditation.
Yes.
It really has. I mean, when I need a break, I'm doing my work. I mean, like I was telling you before the show, officially I'm unemployed. Unofficially, you wouldn't know it because I'm so busy. I have so many things that I'm doing. And sometimes I just need to get away from it. I need to take a break. One of my favorite ways to do it is to go do the dishes, in part because it gets the dishes done, in part because it gets me away, and in part because I get into a meditative state. My mind just goes quiet and the breathing gets deeper. And all of a sudden I start to relax just from doing dishes of all things.
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of science. I'll talk about this in the book too, but there's a lot of science of what happens when how the brain functions. And when it's stuck, there's a process between, within the brain that actually perpetuates the being stuck and nothing gets done. So when you get to a mindless activity or something like dishwashing, you actually then sort of go circle around that portion that's stuck, and you're in the middle of action that frees that. It sort of changes that. You remember the movie The War Games with Matthew Broderick, like 1,000 years ago?
Yeah. He was a kid.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. But he defeated the supercomputer by distracting the supercomputer by playing a tic-tac-toe game. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And in a sense, that's what we're talking about doing. When your brain gets, it just is like a computer that's stuck. And so I'm going to distract it by doing dishes. And then that frees it up like, okay, let's just reboot and start over. and stuff like that helps a lot.
Absolutely does. Hey, I want to remind people before we run out of time that if you're not yet subscribed to the podcast, please become a subscriber. Most of you are. We love the fact that you do that. But for the few of you who may have just discovered us for the first time, maybe this is the first time you've heard Joel, because it's been a while since he's been on the program. But become a subscriber. It's so easy to do. If you aren't sure how to do it, just go to the homepage of our website, loatoday.net. You'll see instructions at the top of the page designed for your particular device. It actually does detect what kind of device you're using, whether it's an iPhone or Android or a computer, whatever it might be, a Mac. And then from that point on, all of our episodes that we do 5 days a week come streaming right to your device. We also want to encourage you to check us out on YouTube, because we live stream on YouTube as we're recording. You can subscribe there as well. Click the little bell too. That'll also give you the notification every time that we're on. And I'm also asking listeners, I haven't actually asked this in the last few days, but I want to get back to it. We put a post up on the Facebook page for LOA Today. Basically, it's a compilation of all the different co-hosts giving a few seconds on some topic, and we're using it as a way to promote and get more and more people aware of the show. If you have a moment and you haven't done it already, many of you already have, and we want to thank you those of you who have already done it. But if you haven't gone on there and made a comment, we're particularly looking for comments from people saying how much they like the show. We're getting lots of likes. That's great. But really, it's the comments that we're looking for, because when a new listener sees it, they want to also see what people think about it. And that's what the comments are telling them. So if you're so inclined and you're willing to help us out, go to the LOA Today page on Facebook and just leave a nice comment on that first post. It's right at the top. I pinned it, so you won't have any trouble finding it. But by all means, become a subscriber and check us out and keep following us, because it really does pay off. The only sad part about all this, Joel, is that we're out of time.
Well, but we will do this again. Let's do this again in the next month or two whenever you need a fill-in. I'd be glad to do that.
Oh, well, hey, you throw that gauntlet down, I'm going to pick that one up.
Yeah. Pick it. Let me know, just like this time. And as I said, things got a little, well, I can't commit every week now, but I certainly could fill in for you occasionally. I love that. And I love our audience. I mean, this, while I claim no ownership officially, I feel I'm a groundbreaking original member of the Law of Attraction, the LOA Today. I mean, it is one of my personal, it was an incredible, helpful tool to me. And I've loved the fact that it's become so successful. And I hope we just keep growing and growing.
I think we're going to. I mean, that's what the trajectory is. So I don't see it doing anything but that. And you definitely played a major role, and I thank you for it. And I know our live streamers and our podcast listeners feel the same. So thanks for coming back. I'm going to take you up on it. I'm definitely going to bring you back. In fact, I may even, I'm trying to bring some more guests on, some special guests to talk about some important topics. I may even try to match you up where possible if it fits your schedule. So, I'll contact you about those too.
I'll have a great day, my friend.
You do the same thing. Thank you very much, live streamers. Thank you especially to our podcast listeners as well. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.